When love is felt or fear is known, when holidays and holy days and such times come, when anniversaries arrive by calendar or consciousness, when seasons come as seasons do, old and known but somehow new, when lives are born or people die, when something sacred sensed in soil or sky, mark the time. Respond with thought or prayer or smile or grief. Let nothing living slip between the fingers of the mind. For all of these are holy things we will not, cannot find again. We are gathered here in memory of James Robert West III to celebrate his life and mark his death. Looking across the span of human years as we do now is like looking out on the expanse of the sea. The years roll by with the regularity of the waves, reminding us that life is a long voyage into the known and unknown. Along the way there will be tenderness and trouble, long labor and short sweetness, ideals, defeats, and sickness. There will be sparkling joy and cavernous sorrow, the molehill of misunderstanding against the mountain of true accord, puddles of regret besides the beautiful lakes of love and companionship. Each one of us is somewhere along the way of this great journey. Although we will briefly recount the facts of Jim's life, it is important we recognize that no one can sum up his life. It was too precious to be passed over with mere words. Rather, it must be recalled in our hearts, in our minds, in our souls. Significant facts may be recalled and recounted. But his life was more than public accomplishments and achievements. His legacy will be remembered by those who loved and watched, shared, and struggled by his side over the many years. For such memories are alive, rippling through generations, unbounded by the facts of birth or death or accomplishments. 92 years. That's a long time to live. Even longer when you're told at the age of 11 after being diagnosed with type 1 diabetes that you might only have a few years left. Jim not only proved them wrong, he outlived every single one of them. And he did so with grit, grace, and an adventurous spirit. Jim was remarkable in many ways. He was a lifelong athlete, a skilled dancer and dance instructor, an accomplished skier in both snow and water, a scuba diver, a sailor of Santana 20s, an open water navigator, and a devoted cyclist. I met Jim through biking. Though we rarely rode side by side, he liked to start a bit later than the rest of us.
It's in the genes.
It's in the genes. He was one of the founding members of the group I'm still proud to ride with, the Rusty Chain Gang.
Yeah.
Many of us joined him in supporting the Tour de Cure, an annual ride raising funds for research into diabetes, the cause close to his heart and his life. Most of our friendships happened off the bike. The Rusty Chain Gang has often been described as a social club with a bicycle problem. Jim fit right in. I was impressed that in his 80s he volunteered for Fort Worth's Code Blue citizen patrols. And I'll never forget the twinkle in his eye. You know what I'm talking about. That little mischievous glint.
Oh, yeah.
Paired, after a pause, a good pause, with his perfectly timed sense of humor. One of my favorite examples of that humor came when Jim and I were at one of the last in-person meetings of the Fort Worth Bicycling Association. We used to meet at what was then the Osteopathic Hospital in one of their auditoriums. Someone from the North Central Council of Governments was telling us that night about all the plans they had for improving life for cyclists with this project and that. And at the end of this talk, the speaker said he expected the plan would be finished by 2040. At that, Jim leaned over to me, and in that calm, deadpan voice of his said, "I don't think I'll be around for that." Jim was an innovator in managing his diabetes. He had a rare combination of deep understanding, personal discipline, and curiosity about the newest technology. He was an early adopter of advanced tools, and in recent years used a continuous glucose monitor paired with an insulin pump, a setup he mastered with the same skill he brought to everything in life. I wasn't surprised to learn from Mariana that his professional life was just as impressive. As a fire safety engineer, he designed and installed major fire safety systems for clients all over the world, including the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And that was just one of many areas in which Jim became expert and proficient. In his final days, I was able to visit him a few times. He told me he was ready, at peace with the idea of this chapter ending. There was no fear, no sentimentality, just quiet acceptance. I cherish those visits. I will miss Jim's company deeply. His wit, his determination, his stories, and his quiet example of living life fully, no matter the obstacles. I know many of you will miss him even more deeply. And now I'd like to invite those who knew Jim far longer and better than I to share your own memories, especially the ones that will make us smile and chuckle, the ones we'll remember many years from now. Speak up, though, so we can all hear you. After all, some of us don't catch every word like we used to. I invite people to come up, starting with family.
I will say so. I wasn't going to. Jim was a wonderful person, a good brother. My kids, too. I couldn't have better brothers. And then Peter was our other brother, who was 2 years, is it 2 years younger than Jim, or a year? Anyhow, he was wonderful. And Jim would help me he got me through more things in life. And he did. He had a very dry sense of humor. And I know when he was, his last couple of days, he was very comfortable, because I'm a hospice nurse and I was there. I couldn't take care of him and make decisions, but I could put my word in. But I do miss him deeply. And I want to say you put everything in perspective. It was beautiful. Very much so. I'm not a good speaker, so.
Tell you a story that Jim liked to reminisce about. It was just a normal day. He's ready to go bike riding. And he was coming up to Nice Hill. And he started thinking about how to make it up Nice Hill. And he was just riding, and after a while he looked back and he saw Fred. He said, "Fred is always ahead of me. How come I'm ahead of Fred?" And then pretty soon, he was ahead of the jocks, guys, the young ones, the strong ones, the real fast ones. He was way ahead of those. So he said it must have been a good day. Cardiac surgery worked. The blood sugar must have been just perfect. And he made it, and that was an amazing bike ride. And I like to tell the story about Jim, because Jim got born 92 years ago, started on this journey at 12. TD1 kept on the journey, touched a lot of people that you know, and then came to the end of the ride, and it was an amazing life. An amazing day and an amazing life.
I agree. That was.
Briefly.
Yeah, really. But I want to tell you something. His last 2-3 weeks were tough. And the reason being is he fought this disease incredibly.
82 years.
Yeah. And I don't think his body and his brain, he may have made that decision in his soul to move on, but his body wasn't ready. And you could see it in his face. But Kathy saw him after death, and he had a smile on his face. That's good news.
Sense of humor. And there was one joke that he particularly liked. And it was a little off color, but at the end, he said, "I'll have the soup."
Oh,
And I'll be glad to tell that story in
Yes.
private to anybody who wants to hear it.
But it kind of fits in because his last 2 weeks, all he could eat was soup. And he'd tell me, I'll have the soup.
And every email he sent to me that had a joke was the title line was "I'll have the soup." Now, I have to tell him one story. He and we were going to get together with him for dinner. And I said, well, let's see. Typically, he's half an hour, 45 minutes late. So my wife, Kathy, says, let's plan to eat about 6:30. So I told him. I said, all right, we're going to meet together at 6 o'clock at this restaurant. And we showed up at 6:30. And he was on time that day. I was just absolutely amazed. That's the only time I think he was on time.
That's true.
And then the other story I wanted to tell about has to do with Betty and Aaron King. They were riding along on their tandem bike, which they did for many years. And the front fork in that bike broke. And they tumbled off onto the side of the road. Jim looked down to him and says, can't you two wait till you get a motel? Anyway,
Pretty good.
we could, I think we could go on, and I hope somebody else has got some that have.
Please tell us who you are and how you do it.
Oh, I'm Brian Dietz. I joined the Rusty Chang Gang in about the 2002-2003 time frame, and the one thing that made it such a good group to ride with is that they were very welcoming, they wanted you to be a part of the group. And they had a rule that nobody rode by themselves. You're never going to get dropped off, you're never going to get stranded, and that was part of the group. And Jim, and in particular Sherwin, were leaders of the group. And one of the one of the pictures that was shown was about a little over 2 years ago. They had a 90th birthday that celebrated for Sherwin and Jim and Larry and Andy.
Andy, that's
And,
right.
and that was kind of a joy because that was the first meeting we've had in several years because of the COVID situation. And it was a wonderful celebration. Anyway, see the picture. Anyway, I've already spoken too long. But anyway, Jim was always a joy to be around, and that was part of it.
Jim told me I could have 3 minutes.
They didn't know.
Who are you?
That's how you are, Larry. Okay. I'm Larry Whitehouse.
Yep.
Jim, our friend, diagnosed with type 1 at 11, 12 years old. Told he had 5 years. He lived those 5 years and a bunch more. And he lived them fully. He didn't skip a thing, even though he was dealing with twice as much as we can even think about. I just go through my mind the things Jim did. He was an expert in fire prevention for commercial firms. We've learned what stuff he did. He was a snow skier. He was an instructor snow skier. He was a what all was he? He was a
Certified diver?
I'm blank. But anyway, what I was going to try to get to after all the things he did, he was a sailor and a navigator, a celestial navigator. With the stars and his sextant and his books, he could tell where he was anytime, I think. Well, one time he was on a cruise as a crew member on a sailboat in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. The winds came, bad winds, and they broke the mast of the sail. So now they're floating around in the middle of the Gulf for 3 weeks. What do you take provisions for on a sail? I don't know, but you don't take that much Ritalin. Or not Ritalin, no.
Insulin.
The insulin. You don't take that much insulin. Can you imagine the concern this man had every day, not knowing whether is somebody going to find us? Well, somebody did. 3 weeks later, a tanker came by and picked them up. But the whole time Jim was there, if the night was clear, Jim knew where they were. But they couldn't tell anybody because they didn't have Jim, he's a lot of things. Jim is a lot of things. But to me, Jim's a friend.
Thank you, Larry.
That was 20-something years ago. And I want to show the soft side of Jim. I have a date with him one time. Where Mariana was at a hotel. Mariana said, go to eat with him. So I said, honestly, I don't go out with single men to go to lunch, whatever. But anyway, I went.
Married man.
A married man and a married woman. So anyway, and I went, he is such a gentleman. He opens the door for me. Now, not too many often that happens nowadays, but the man opens the door for a lady anymore. So I want to say that his sense of humor is unbelievable. And he is funny, and you know, we enjoy him so much as girlfriends, as a group, and we went to study, and then Mariana with us, and he always so funny with us. And I would really want to celebrate him on the soft side of Jim that you guys may not know. So thank you so much for having us here to celebrate his life.
I'm Alan Arabian, Rusty Chain Gang member, and knew Jim a little bit through the writing, but also knew Jim because he would get together groups of gangers and go to elementary schools and teach them safety riding, teach them maintenance on their bicycles. And there's a story that is just about right that I would believe it, and it starts kind of slow with a Christmas drive to get bicycles for kids, and he wanted to get people going to fix bicycles so they'd have bikes for kids at Christmas time. And so he started a competition, or at least that's what he told the gangers. I wasn't there at the time. This is a story I've heard, but it's so typical I'll believe it. They had this competition. They got 100 bicycles together for the kids at Christmas. And then someone asked, well, how did we do with the competition? And the answer was, you won. You were the only competitors. Well, guess what? That little activity started Bikes for Tykes.
Yes, it did.
I'm the current president. We are recycling. Before COVID, it was 1,200 bikes a year. COVID slowed us down. We're now only doing 950. But it's gang members that are out there donating their time, fixing bikes. Jim started it. And right now, it's not so much kids that are getting the benefit. The homeless are coming to us for bicycles. We're getting quite a few men and women from the transition center from prison. They're on Henderson. They don't have transportation. They want to get a job. They can get to a bus route, but the bus only takes them so far. So Jim started the competition, and we're still going strong. Thank you, Jim.
The chain gang. And we had this game we used to play. We tried to defeat gravity. Going uphill, he would go by me and say, skinny guy picking on the fat guy. Downhill, I'd pick on him. Fat guy picking on the skinny guy. But that's one of the great things I remember about Jim. He was a good friend, and I loved him. Thank you.
I'm Micah.
Tell the truth.
I'm Jim's neighbor. I'm here with my wife and my kids, and we met Jim 18 years ago, and it's a funny story of how we met, because when we met, the backyard had a lot of bushes, and you couldn't see on the other side, but our dog was barking a lot, and Jim was on the other side of the fence with a trash can, hitting the fence at the dog and yelling. And so I come outside and I yell back, "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" or something to that extent. And I hear him grumbling, puts the trash can down and he walks back inside, and I go tell Jamie, and she says, "Well, that's one way to meet the neighbors. Now we're going to have to go meet them face to face." So we did, and that led to many years of good times with Jim and Mariana. You know he's a night owl, but for years he would let us come over and we'd cook breakfast with the kids. We have a 2-year-old to 18, and he met them all and held them all and loved them. And just, I love Jim to death. We didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things, but his love for my kids and just bypassed it all. And he was just such a great man and deserves all this. And I love him to death. And that's it. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Ski Linsky. I started riding with the chain gang back in '02. Caught up with them around the country. I knew who they were, and I got to take it easy on these old geezers. They hammered my butt into the dirt. Not really. They ride about 5,000 miles a year because their wives are home. Anyway, my story with Jim is most of the photographs I had of him were group photographs. And I never could display him because he'd always had a little trick. He'd sit there and he'd hide behind someone, or I'd see him and check, get everything going. Just like click shutter, he'd do one of these things. Like like my favorite photograph from, I was laying on the ground shooting up. He was doing a solo shot. Because he never wrote together. He was either ahead of me or behind me. And I kept checking around to try to make sure he wasn't doing that. Just to hit the button, he got me.
I met Mariana 20 years ago down at the museum, and so we stayed together for art, but it was some years before I met Jim. And Jim was like, oh, you're part of our family, just like Mariana had done with me. You know, he just welcomed people. He loved to talk to people. You wouldn't think so, because at times he was kind of quiet. And he'd listen to you, and he could respond to you later. But the other thing is not to be outdone, Lily. He opened my door, too. But he would walk me out to the car to be sure I got out there okay. He'd make sure I got down the steps at their house. You know, he also liked taking care of people as much as he could. Sorry. And I was welcomed at their dinners, Thanksgiving and Christmas, and that was how he also just, I was just part of the family there. And there's stories about him that I could tell. I can't remember the punchlines. But he was a real special person to me too. Thank you.
Lovely stories. We'll have a chance to tell more afterwards in the next room. Ryan, you can tell that story. You can't tell. This is an adaptation of Psalm 90 by a name named Emil Weiser. We men and women alike are brought from the dust. To dust must we return. 1,000 years or a day that has passed as a watch in the night. We are consigned to sleep. Like grass, we are fresh. In the morning we sprout, blossom forth. In the evening we wither and fade. Our days decline and end as a sigh. Destined for 70 with strength for 80. Most of the toil and travail, soon they pass as we fail. Let us then value our days, hallowing each with grace, as a trust bestowed upon us, acquiring a heart full of wisdom and love for the living of earth. Through all the days though we suffer, and all the years though we sorrow, rejoice and be glad always. For the precious gift, give thanks, live for the good each day. A poem by Walt Whitman. Nothing is ever really lost or can be lost, no birth, identity, form, no object of the world, nor life, nor force, nor any visible thing. Appearance must not foil, nor shifted sphere confuse thy brain. Ample are time and space, ample the fields of nature. The body sluggish, aged, cold, the embers left from earlier fires, the light in the eyes grown dim, shall duly flame again. The sun now low in the west rises for morning and for noons continual. To frozen clods ever the spring's invisible law returns, with grass and flowers and summer fruit and corn. Let us pause in the spirit of prayer and meditation. God, lover of us all, mystery beyond all naming, we meet at this time to mark the death of our loved one. May our memories sustain us in this time of loss. In this world blessed with the echo of words our loved one has spoken, and with so many traces of his having been among us, may we discover some measure of peace in the knowledge that life, though fleeting, leaves love unbroken. Let us be thankful for every gift of life which brings us joy and peace and strength of heart, for every man and woman whose life speaks to us. Let us be thankful for Jim's many gifts and the time he spent among us. Let us be thankful for his energy and for the gift of his presence in our lives, for we are enriched because he lived. Let us remember with gratefulness all the people who now surround us and minister to us, the loved ones who live with us, the friends who stand by us, the communities of memory and hope that sustain us in this time of loss. Let us go forward now, remembering the past, yet facing the future together. Amen. And so now we say farewell, dear friend. We loved you living, we loved you now. May you rest in peace and love. This concludes the formal part of the memorial service for Jim. Please move to the next room for conversation and the sharing of more memories and stories.